Hello, and welcome to Sideways. This week, we're talking about what happens when you don't or can't seem to limit the empathy you have on offer for other people. We discuss where it originates, why it can be a problem, and what you can do about it. We both share fond memories of Shane MacGowan, debate the connection between creativity and alcohol, hear about some horrifying places that spiders have laid their eggs, and I get a bit worked up about weather forecasters. Being an empath.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm all right, actually, yeah. We won't mention the weather. It's boring, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It is, but it is cold. Yeah. I couldn't help mentioning it.
It's a strong start, isn't it?
It is a strong start, yeah. We've wandered into this very aimlessly. So, shall I tell you what I wanted to talk about this week then, with getting past the initial pleasantries?
Yeah. Why don't you do that? Because I'm just thinking about those people that might be tuning in for the first time ever, and they're thinking, "What the
hell is going on here?" Yeah. So, do you remember last week we were talking about it was called admiration, wasn't it? It was effectively joining in other people's joy.
Yeah.
Talking about.
Yeah.
And this week I wanted to talk about joining in or feeling other people's pain, i.e. being an empath. Okay. We've come across this term. I know that we come across empathy, but empath is different, obviously. It's an extension of that. And what I wanted to do was to look at what it is, the traits, the pros and cons, and how to deal with it if it's problematic.
Lovely.
Because there are good bits to it and there's bad bits to it. So I just wanted to talk to discuss that with you.
I can't wait.
Oh, I think I can see you looking so very excited by it. Before we start, though,
yeah,
should we just have should we doff our caps a little bit then to the passing of the great Shane MacGowan? Do we do that?
I thought you'd mention him this morning.
Yeah, well, he was legendary, wasn't he? And he was obviously the front man with the Pogues.
Yeah.
As we all know, and I've seen a lot of bands over the years, but the three times that I saw the Pogues, each time I thought they're just wonderful.
I've only seen them once, and it was with you at Reading.
That's right, we did. Yeah, that was one of the three. Yes,
and I'm pretty sure I might be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure he disappeared off the stage for some considerable time.
Yeah, he did. Yes, you're right. Yeah,
I can't remember whether he needed to be helped back on again or not.
Well, I remember
he certainly appeared as if he'd been hammering it, which I suppose, was part of the Pogues experience, really, wasn't it, with him? It
was, really. I mean, I know certainly when I saw him down in Brighton, the two times I saw him down there with the Pogues, he just bought a large bottle of JD on with him and just put it next to his microphone stand and cracked on.
Yeah.
But I think the first time I saw him, he was that drunk you could hardly hear what he was singing. Not that you could anyway. I mean, it was quite difficult to pick up his lyrics at the best of times.
Yeah. Really, his lyrics are better read, I think.
They are. Really, they are. They are quite poetic.
It's ironic, isn't it, that for someone who, in many performances, would drawl to such an extent that you couldn't understand what he was saying, he wrote some truly beautiful words.
He did, yeah. But I think it's the irony, really, from my point of view, looking back at it, was I saw him as a real hero, and because he was a big drinker, that was an extra thumbs up as far as I'm concerned, which has ultimately led to his demise. I mean, he's only 65 and he's popped his clogs.
I suppose Shane MacGowan made you look like a moderate drinker, didn't he?
He did, really, which is what I liked. It was him as a reference point. Well, I'm not as bad as Shane, so I'm all right. And what I was reading about his passing, etc. What I didn't realise that he was born in Pembury, wasn't he? Just up the road from us.
He was, yeah.
Yeah, so brought up in Tunbridge Wells. So I know he was from Irish immigrants.
There's a nice farm shop in Pembury.
Is there? I didn't really know the hospital.
Yeah, you can. You certainly used to be able to pick your own plums there, and that isn't a euphemism.
Well, I know. Well, they built the Pembury bypass, didn't they? So you didn't end up going through there if you wanted to go to Tunbridge Wells in the end from Maidstone.
Well, did they build the Pembury bypass so that you can circumnavigate Shane MacGowan?
Well, yeah, he's probably getting running riot there. But I thought one of the interesting statements he made when he was questioned about his legendary drinking, he said that he thought it made him more creative. And I would suggest that he was creative in spite of his drinking, because I know that it's something that's come up before. I remember a guy came to group a long time ago, and he was a journalist, and he was convinced that drinking was part of his part of his writing style, and perhaps it was to a certain extent. But he thought he'd be less creative once he gave up. And I remember saying to him at the time, I think you're probably underestimating your own powers, and I don't think I think you'll find that your creativity will be less encumbered.
The problem,
and sure enough, a few months later, he came back to me and said, "Yeah, you were right." And because he said, "My writing is now less aggressive. It's less depressive. It's much more open and much more enjoyable."
Yeah, I mean, there are different factors, aren't there, that sort of combine in a situation like that. So, for example, somebody might, if you feel that you are more creative when you're drinking or taking drugs, then part of the reason you're more creative is because of your belief that you are.
I agree.
So the guy that you had that conversation with, he had to believe that he could be as creative or creative in a different way or more creative without alcohol in order to be so. We've spoken often, haven't we, about the power of the beliefs we hold about ourselves.
Yeah,
I think that's one of them.
I agree, but in the case of us addicts, it validates our behaviour, our bad behaviour. It gives you a very good reason to carry on in this destructive manner. There's a headline that I thought I'm going to have to just run by. It's one of those headlines where you think, I don't know if I want to read more about this, but you feel like you have to. And the headline was, Peruvian wolf spider lays eggs in man's toe on romantic cruise. Now, I defy anyone not to think, I've got to have a read of that, because there's so much in there.
Yeah, you don't know where to start, do you, with that?
You don't really. There's a lot. There's a lot in one headline, quite a long, not the snappiest of headlines, but it encompassed really what exactly went on. I did read on it and what actually happened. This guy and his wife were on a cruise, and I think they'd stopped off somewhere. I think it was in France, actually, stopped off. But anyway, he suddenly noticed his toe was turning purple. And initially his wife persuaded him it was just that it was his new sandals were rubber. But then it got worse, and he went to the doctors and he cut it open and removed the eggs. He found all these eggs in there. This Peruvian spider had laid in his toe and gave him the antibiotics, and it sort of cleared it up. But about 4 weeks later, apparently there was one of the eggs left behind, which had hatched, and the spider had started to eat its way out from the inside of his toe.
Oh, my God. Apologies to anyone who's eating their tea when they're listening to this.
I struggled to finish reading it. I thought, my God, there's so many images that were thrown into my mind there.
That's most unpleasant. Have you ever had eggs laid in your toe?
No, but I remember my dad had an insect burrow into him when he was in Portugal on holiday once, into his leg, burrowed right inside, and it was going further into his leg, and he had to go and have an opto taken out.
What's the moral of that tale?
I don't know, but don't go to Portugal.
Don't go abroad.
Don't go on a cruise.
Stay at home.
Don't buy new sandals.
There are so many lessons in there, aren't there?
Yeah. Anyway, should we get back? And this is anything else you wanted to just throw into the mix there at this point?
I'm quite happy listening to you witter on and drinking my coffee.
Okay, well, I'm going to go on to talking about what is an empath. So just to look at what an empath actually is. My research tells me that an empath is an individual who feels more empathy than the average human. That they tend to be exceptionally sensitive to the emotions and the frames of minds of nearby individuals.
Yep. Even when said individuals aren't expressing in words what they're feeling.
Yeah. Yes, the typical empath normally can accurately discern people's emotional states just by looking at them, and then takes appropriate action. I think that the reason I thought this was quite relevant as well, because I see people coming into groups, and as they're growing in their recovery, they can show signs of being a bit of an empath. And I think that, again, it's about getting a balance, because it's nice to be empathetic, And so, in fact, that's the bedrock of our peer support group, really, is the strength we show to each other and have empathy with each other's plight. So the common traits of an empath, there are just a few I wanted to go through with you. Again, the research shows they tend to be good listeners.
Yeah.
And you tend to find that total strangers will, in the company of an empath, are quite happy to pour out their hearts and tell them all sorts of stuff. Mm-hmm. Those sort of people that do pour out their hearts, they feel at ease.
Yeah.
Around, they're put at ease by the compassion of the empath, really, aren't they?
Yeah. So, I mean, in some respects, it's almost like spending time with you.
Yeah.
Not you.
Yeah, not me, but yeah.
Oneself, yeah.
No, I agree. But the next one was curiosity, where empaths tend to have a deep curiosity about everything around them, including people and places. And they're more likely to start a conversation with complete strangers sitting next to them on a train, for example. And I was trying to think back whether that's ever happened to me, whether someone has come and sat next to me and started cracking on with the conversation, or whether I've done it myself. And I think both of those have happened.
I could see you starting a conversation with someone on a train. Yeah. I mean, if someone started a conversation with me on a train that I didn't know, I'd close it down pretty damn quick.
You would, move away.
Yeah, I don't want that. If you see me on a train, don't start a conversation with me.
Well, I think, it's strange because one of the girls that comes to groups, she commutes, and she's taken on this. It's like a crusade where she's trying to get people on the commute to actually communicate with each other.
Right.
It's starting to work, and I think it's just building up a little friendship group there, but a hard nut to crack. A lot of people don't want to be talked to on the train, especially on the commute into London. One of the common traits of an empath is they tend to be very astute, and tend to know things before being told about them. And they sort of can't explain it. It's more like an intuition or a gut feeling. And although it's probably right to say at this point, there's no science behind this particularly to say, why an empath is an empath. It just seems to be that is the case with some people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I imagine that there must be some influence of your development, the way you've been brought up.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. There must be. It's whether it's a strict nature or a strict nurture or a mixture of the two.
Well, empaths are very good at being outward facing, thinking about other people, being conscious of other people's emotions. And actually one of the reasons, and I know you're going to come on to this, one of the reasons that empaths have difficulty is because they find it difficult to draw a line to protect themselves. So I would have thought that one of the factors that might play a part in someone being an empath is being exposed fairly consistently to environments where, they had a need to think about other people's needs, or it was necessary for them to think about what other people are going through, either to keep themselves safe or just because that was, the way it was.
Yeah, no, you're right. That is something later on down in my notes about the inability to set clear boundaries, which I think you're edging towards there. Rooting for the underdog seems to be a common trait of an empath as well. But I think that a lot of us would perhaps fall into that category. A lot of us. Yeah,
it's interesting, that one, because that feels as if it's, I don't know if that is that common everywhere. Feels as if that might be more to do with the society in which you live.
Yes.
So for example, we know that in Britain, we love to tear down anyone that's having success.
Yeah.
And we're more likely to support the underdog.
Yeah.
Don't know if that's necessarily the case everywhere. I'm not sure it is. So that's quite an interesting one.
It is.
Bears some thinking about.
The need for constant stimulation, where empaths lose interest quickly when they don't find an activity stimulating enough, whether that be at school or work or home.
Yeah, because they're all about what they're feeling, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one really was being truthful. Truthfulness is something empaths aspire to for themselves and seek to uphold in everyone else. And they can't they find it difficult to digest untruths.
Yeah, because an empath will pick out a liar at quite a distance.
Yeah. The more I was doing the research on this, I was trying to put people that I know into sort of
if I know any strict empaths. I haven't really been exposed to too many of them, but I know some of the signs are there in people. So I found an interesting week's worth of research on this.
I see a lot in you coming into therapy.
Do you? That's interesting.
Yeah, because as we're going to see, if you don't keep some sort of a handle on being an empath, then it can cause all sorts of emotional difficulties for you.
Let's look at that then, the pros and cons. I'll go through the pros first, because there are some good bits to it, right? Such as being able to build deep and meaningful relationships.
Okay, yeah.
Having a profound sense of compassion towards all living creatures, or powerful and memorable life experiences. And I wasn't quite sure what they were getting at there, but it's one of the pros.
Well, you tend to, because things affect you very deeply, you tend to hold on to them, and you can kind of revisit them, re-experience them.
That's true, actually. It says powerful and memorable. It doesn't say they're either good or bad.
No, well, that's the thing, because it means you can experience and enjoy powerful, positive memories, but it might also mean that it is difficult for you to let go of things that were particularly affecting negatively.
Yeah. And the next one is an ability, and you've touched on this already, and it comes under pros here, which is an ability to intuitively know when people around you are lying.
Yeah. It's interesting, these sort of pros for being an empath. I mean, I don't know. I've not really thought very deeply about the difference between being an empath and empathy, but it feels to me as if those things are not the preserve of empaths, that it's possible to show care for the world around you and compassion for animals and other people and understand other people and build kind of deep relationships with them by developing your ability to be, to show empathy. I'm not sure you necessarily need to be an empath. I always feel it's quite an interesting subject to talk about and I suppose it's to some extent because of the way that I experience empaths. I tend to only really meet them in therapy.
Yeah.
It always feels to me as if being an empath is a bit more of a burden than it is as a benefit.
And I think you've brought that in just at the right moment, because the next part was the cons. The first one, the inability to set clear boundaries, which we've already touched on.
Yeah. And we know from so many conversations we've had that is the bedrock of lots of difficulties.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can't set boundaries.
Yeah.
If you find it difficult to see where you end and somebody else begins, that is really tricky.
Yeah, it is. But you're right that the setting of boundaries can be really difficult, but so important in so many aspects of our life.
Very difficult in early recovery, I'd imagine.
Yes, it is. Almost impossible. It's one that we really do struggle with.
Because you haven't had any boundaries, have you?
No, we've been loose and wild. A tendency to seclude yourself is one of the cons of being an empath.
Yeah, because everything's too exhausting.
Yeah, which is the next point. Really leads on to frequently feeling exhausted after interacting with other people.
So if you put all those three things together, if you can't set boundaries, you're going to be exhausted by being in situations where there are other people around where you're absorbing their emotions, and then you're going to need to isolate.
Yeah,
because you don't have there's no balance between, I need to kind of look after my own needs now, because it's all or nothing. You've gone all out, you've given everything, and then you have to sit in a darkened room and have a little cry for a while.
Do you feel when you have, if you're dealing with empaths in your practice, do you feel sometimes then that you can take on that? Is that where your supervision comes in handy when you're perhaps dealing with those sort of people and you're taking on some of their issues?
I don't think I do. I mean, that's another reason why I think it's quite an interesting subject, because I feel that I exhibit quite a lot of the positive aspects of being an empath, but I'm not an empath.
No.
Because I don't really think I have a difficulty in separating my own emotions from other. I mean, sometimes, in sort of situations of counter-transference where someone says something and it brings something up for me, obviously that happens because I'm human. But I don't have difficulty, I think the way you expressed it there was taking on other people's emotions. I don't think I do that. And you're right, supervision is the place that you would take that if, as a therapist, you did. But funnily enough, I think I don't think that's something that I've really struggled with. I make myself sound like a heartless bastard now, but
you don't know. I think it's vital in your profession. You are able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes people will tell you things and it will affect you.
Yeah,
but I've never really struggled to separate. You know, when someone's telling me something, I think I've always managed to be able to say to myself, "Hang on, this is not my life. This is someone else's." And as awful and as catastrophic and tragic as it might sound, I know there is a separation between what I'm hearing and what I've experienced, and I think that's, you know, that is important. Sometimes you do have to do that through supervision, but yeah.
The last one on the list there really was one of the cons is that others tend to pour all their worries onto you.
Because you're a sponge, aren't you?
Yeah, and I'd imagine, but I think again I see it again. People coming into groups where your emotions are raw, and you're very sensitive about your own emotions, and you're very sensitive about the other people's emotions in the room. And if one person starts crying, it can start off a whole flood, you know.
Yeah.
And so people are very. It's especially in early recovery, it's starting to come out from behind this cloud of drink and drugs, and your emotions are very raw at that point.
I mean, the way it presents, the way I tend to see it present, is that someone it'll be almost it'll be an unconscious thing that they, you know, you'll ask someone, if you say to someone, do people tend to come and talk to you and chat to you about things? Oh, yeah. You know, I'm always the go-to person. You know, people will come and pour their worries out. And, you know, and quite often part of the reason they found themselves in therapy is because they don't have anyone that will do that for them.
Right, yeah.
Partly because they're always so busy absorbing other people's stuff that they're not really looking after their own. So I think that exhaustion that comes from other people pouring their hearts out and feeling so comfortable with you, they'll give you all of their woes, can be an unconscious thing. People don't realise that that's the role that they're playing. And they think they either think, well, everybody must feel like this, or I've just been unlucky and, you know, the people in my life are just going through a lot. But actually empaths attract people like that, like sort of moths to a flame.
So if you are an empath and it is becoming a problem, what do we do about it? And some of the things that came up were techniques like mindfulness and meditation, our old friends there, to extract you. So, you know, you're talking about going and sitting in a dark room earlier on to get over it. Just really what they're really recommending here, detaching yourself from the events that are around you. So that you, and then using things like mindfulness and meditation to bring yourself back towards the center ground where you want to be.
Yeah, I think you have to recognize, has to be a point of recognition that your needs matter too.
Yes.
And that if you're expending all of your emotional energy on other people, at some point your reserves are going to be empty.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
so if you want to continue to be able to play that positive role for other people, part of being able to continue to do it is taking care of yourself.
Yes, you're right, absolutely right. Do you think empathy is a finite resource? I know we've touched on finite.
I don't think empathy is a finite resource as long as you look after yourself, because, you know, it costs us showing empathy sometimes. You know, sometimes it doesn't cost us much, and other times it's quite hard work. But it's not something that's finite in as much as, you know, it's like digging for gold. You can keep replenishing it.
Yeah.
But your empathy comes from your own emotional energy. So if you allow your own emotional energy to deplete to the extent where you haven't got anything left, then it's going to be hard for you to show empathy. And that's when people get into difficulty, because they'll still naturally exhibit empathy, but there's nothing in the tank. And, you know, it flattens them in the end. So I think you have to get self-generates, a bit like Doctor Who.
Talking of which, I have started to watch some of the original Doctor Who, because they're all on BBC One now, aren't they?
Who was your favourite Doctor Who?
I've got to say Tom Baker, really. I suppose,
yeah,
because
it was Tom Baker. I liked John Pertwee, but Tom Baker was my favourite, I think.
Only because he used to come into headquarters. I used to see him from my flat window from time to time.
I saw a picture of him in the paper the other day. He's 92 or 93.
He's no spring chicken, but he's still Doctor Who, isn't he? Still proper Doctor Who.
He's still Doctor Who as far as I'm concerned.
It is. I don't know how we wandered into that.
Well, you started it.
I
started it, didn't I? Because I likened having empathy to being like Doctor Who.
That's it. Okay.
Which I bet has never been done before on a podcast.
It hasn't. No, I think we've broken new ground there.
Yeah.
I've just got to get back on track now. So, yeah, being some of the problems, how to deal with it. Spending time in nature is the next one, which is, again, the research, this is true for all humans, but especially for empaths. Nature is healing. Take time out. I think we all...
Yeah, because it replenishes you.
Yeah, it does.
That's it. That's what you're doing. You know, we know that if you go for a walk and on a lovely day and you listen to the birds and you look around and see, it replenishes you. It's hard for anyone to be unaffected by putting themselves in a place of beauty.
I know. I think during COVID, a lot of us learned that. I learned that. I hadn't appreciated the value and the quality of that.
Yeah.
So that was something positive came out of that. Forgiving yourself. Often empaths are understanding of other challenges, but come down hard on themselves.
Yeah, it's like what I was saying earlier on.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
There's a question there about what is it that develops that empath quality in someone. Quite often it is something that has happened or chronic situation that has caused them to think of themselves as less of a priority than other people. And I think rebalancing that is part of the way that you manage it, you know, manage your giving of empathy in a positive manner.
And the last point really was learn when to say no. Comes down to the boundary setting thing.
Boundaries, isn't it?
It is, but just saying no. I think one of our listeners, Jez, he often laughs about that, about we talking about no being a complete sentence.
Yeah.
And how I will send him a text, he'll just come back and just say no. And it is difficult. That's a very strong boundary. You're setting just with one word, 2 letters. It's so tough to do, but it's real, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, although it's an easy suggestion to make, a lot of people find that very difficult. Yeah. One of the ways in which you can perhaps soften that is to realise that a no doesn't mean never.
True.
It might just mean not at the moment. You know, if you're an empath and you feel exhausted by whatever it is that has been, you know, coming across your bowels for the past couple of days, and someone says, "Oh, can I have a chat?" You know, saying no doesn't mean no, I'm never going to. It might just mean I can't this afternoon because I'm exhausted. You know, so it's finding ways to preserve your dwindling resources until they're recharged. So no might mean not today, but we can chat tomorrow, or I can do it later, or whatever it is. And I think that for a lot of people is a more acceptable and easier way into taking care of themselves.
I agree. I think if you are in a situation where you want to pour out your worries, you can be quite grateful if you know someone that has traits toward being an empath.
I can see what you've done there.
Yeah, clunky, wasn't it? It wasn't great. I was trying to think on my feet there.
I think it's you this week for gratitude first.
Quite a strange one, really, because it's a profession that I expect or suspect rarely gets onto anyone's gratitude lists, and mine is the dentist. Okay.
Yeah, I should think you're right. Probably rarely acknowledged.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it is. I went to the dentist this week. I had a broken tooth and the filling to be replaced, and the tooth was being built up and that sort of thing. And it just struck me. I mean, working in other people's mouths must be horrible. I mean, I can't think of anything worse really than that. So I had a certain amount of sympathy for the dentist. She's nice. She's quite harsh, but she's quite nice. She doesn't beat around the bush. But it reminded me how painless it was compared with childhood dentists. So I was grateful, perhaps not just for dentists, but the way that technology has progressed alongside dentistry to make the trip to the dentist not the absolute fear-filled experience of my childhood. When now you go along and you hardly feel any pain. It's just, they're doing some quite serious stuff in your mouth and it's not painful.
Yeah, I mean, it's surgery, isn't it? In some, if you're having a root canal or something, it's pretty... Yeah, I'm totally on board with that. I mean, I think we've spoken about it before. I absolutely hated my dentist when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And now, my dentist for years has been brilliant. So I can understand dentists being on a gratitude list.
I wasn't grateful.
I mean, I probably wouldn't put them on my gratitude list if I'd just broken a tooth or a crown had fallen off or something. I'd probably be cursing, but...
Well, you curse when you get to the counter and have to pay. That's the only thing. You think,
yeah, it's not cheap, is it?
No, it's not much fun.
Yeah. Well, I've got peaceful early mornings.
Oh, right. Okay. Now, I mean, you experience those every day, don't you?
I do. I think I mentioned it in the introduction a couple of weeks ago. But as it's, got very cold and very dark this time of year, I get up at the same time every day. I get up at 6:00 every day, Monday to Sunday.
Yeah.
Christmas Day, whatever. And it's just part of my routine. So I like that. But that sort of first hour or so in the morning, when everything's quiet and there's nobody around, I just absolutely love that. And it really sets me up for the day. I know it wouldn't be for everybody, but in terms of things that I feel grateful for, I suppose I feel grateful that I discovered that was a really good way for me to start the day. And
no, I agree. So no, I think that's a very worthy item to put on the list. And as I say, it's probably one you could probably put on every day, couldn't you?
I could put it on every day, yeah.
Okay. The feature will be to discuss 100 skills that every person should master, which comes from that list that you sent to me some time ago. The one I've picked off this week, which I'm sure is not something we should really have to master, but is being able to predict the weather. Now,
well, depends what you do, I suppose. If you're a farmer,
yeah,
it's probably useful. If you take the dogs out, it's quite handy because you know what to wear. But is it an important skill? What's your view of it?
My view is that people do it for us anyway. But you can. They're
not very good, though, are they? Not very good at it.
But they've studied it, and they should be better than us. We're putting putting ourselves in the hands of the experts. If you start dissing Carol Kirkwood, you and me are going to fall out, pal.
See, I always think, and this is controversial.
Go on.
When I sort of think of occupations that feel a bit pointless,
okay,
the first thing I think about is restaurant critics.
Okay,
I think, what's the point of that? Because, what you like, I probably won't like. Food is so subjective.
Yeah.
What a waste of time that is.
Yeah.
But I'm tell you what, meteorologists aren't far behind. Well, no, that's not true. Not meteorologists. The weather forecasting people who come on the telly and tell us what the weather's going to be like.
Okay.
Because quite often it feels like they're just having a guess. I saw a thing on Substack the other day where someone who living in Australia had on one of there was two screens. On the first screen, it had the weather forecast, which was just sort of white cloud, sort of fair day.
Yeah.
And the second picture was the weather outside her house, and it was absolutely hammering it down. And I thought, yes, that's so often what it feels like. The weather forecast tell you it's going to pour with rain, and you get all dressed up for rain. You go out there and it doesn't flipping rain, or the opposite, which is even worse.
Yeah, no, I do agree. It seems very hit and miss, especially in a country like ours, because it changes so quickly.
Well, that's okay. It might be more difficult, but if you're going to predict it, try and be right more times than you're wrong. So I'm going to say that this is a useful skill if you happen to do the weather forecasts on the radio or the television.
Okay, yeah.
Because otherwise we might as well do it ourselves and you save yourself the bother of coming on and telling us what the weather's going to be like when you know full well you're just having a guess.
Well, yeah,
I'm quite angry now.
I can see you're riled, mate. Yeah, I'm going to move you on from this. I'm going to go on to a little music quiz, which might make you even angrier.
No, Shane MacGowan comes up in this.
He doesn't. Because the year on that would be quite easy to guess, wouldn't it? The year of death. So on this day in music.
Yeah.
What year was it that Wings were number one for quite a long stretch with Mull of Kintyre?
Mull of Kintyre. 1974.
Oh, no, 77. Oh. Yeah. It's bizarre, isn't it? I thought it a bit earlier than that. It's out during the punk era.
I suppose 74 was more sort of Band on the Run, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
Mull of Kintyre would have been a later album, wouldn't it? I went too quickly with that. I think I was still fizzing from the weather forecasting.
You were, but you're in the wrong state of mind. Do you want to do a bit of mindfulness, a bit of meditation to sort yourself out for a little while?
No, it's okay. I mean, I need to learn a lesson, don't I? I should, think before I speak. Okay. So I've been Taught a lesson by Paul McCartney and Wings.
Well, the next one is a year in which someone was born. Now, I know this is an artist that you've seen, so you may have a good hand on this. Ozzy Osbourne. So he was born in this month. But what year?
That's quite difficult, actually. 49.
Oh, you got a point. It's 48. So you're 1 point.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. So he's what, 76? 5?
Makes him 75 like this year, doesn't it? Yeah, 75. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a point. Okay, so I need a 2-pointer here to equal my best.
Well, you might struggle with this one.
Oh, great.
Frank Zappa, right? He died at the age of 52, but do you know which year that was?
God,
that's quite tough.
That's really hard, that is.
Yeah, so the age of 50. Yeah.
How old was he? 52?
He was 52 when he died.
That's difficult. I'm going to say late 90s. I'm going to go 98.
Well, you're in the right decade. It's in the 90s, but it's 93.
Oh, that's not too bad.
It's not too bad. That is quite a tough one. I wouldn't have known. I would have struggled with that.
Yeah. I think I had something by his son Dweezil at one point. Got one of Dweezil Zappa's records.
I didn't know, because I know, is it Dweezil that does a lot, who goes on tour and does a lot of Frank's or his dad's stuff?
I think he does, yeah. I don't know if Moon Unit is in the music business.
Imagine being called that. You'd curse your dad, wouldn't you? Moon Unit. But
how would you shorten that at school?
Mooney. All right, Mooney.
Mooney?
Yeah, all right, Mooney. Yeah. Okay,
good. Excellent.
That's me wrapped up, mate.
Good. I'll see you next time then.
Will do.
Laters.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.